24-7, Michigan gets the bounce-back victory. Sloppy first half, but Michigan in the second half, they drive the field, they get down to the 5, and they get stopped. There's an exchange of punts, and I don't think people are feeling great about U of M and the entire game with the drop passes and just the frustration. Even though they had only given up 7 points, Washington had gone into Michigan territory on every drive in the first half. So you're sitting there thinking, oh no, the season could be over. And then Cole Sullivan comes up with the pick play later. You got Jordan Marshall going in for the touchdown. And then you do get another interception by Rolder a little bit late on the play, turns around and is able to come up with that one. And that was the momentum that Michigan needed to win this game. So if you go back and you're going to listen to what Sharon Moore had to say and all of the players, they knew it was gut check time in this one. In fact, that's what they talked about, that Wink challenged the defense. Cole Sullivan said that, and said at the time all the things that you would say maybe as they would be cliches, but it was they had to man up, stop the bleeding, take a step forward, all of those things. But they did it, and they get the win. And for Michigan, when you have a performance like they did against USC, and you're coming back home, they needed this win in the worst way. They end up. And they're able to get it. And when you're thinking about it afterwards, you're like, look at Jordan Marshall steps in for Justice Haynes, who was, I don't know, the whole thing with the injuries is I'll say a little weird, but not that Michigan has players getting hurt. It's football. They're going to have a lot of players getting hurt, but a little bit with Sharon Moore when he's like, Justice Haynes could have gone in last week, and then he was like, he practiced a little bit and he was working at it, and then I think he said he could have gone today, but they put him through workouts. I don't know, that's not even that, it's just maybe parsing his words a little bit. But the bottom line is you needed Marshall to have a big day, and he comes up with a gigantic day, and he's waiting his turn, biding his time, all those certain things, all those little things. And he did it, and he came up big when they needed him the most, like that. And Bryce Underwood on the offensive side, the drops in the first half, it's got to be a little bit frustrating for him and just the team altogether. They're having a hard time in some of these short yardage situations. And then, you do get Marsh. I don't know if that's burying the lead or not, but Andrew Marsh has stepped up. That's been big time. That's what you're looking for, and it took a little while. I say he's the best wide receiver on the team. He's been playing the best. That's what you're looking for. So you like that part of it. And for the rest of it, you look, they had 2 tight ends with Marlon Klein and Hogan Hansen being out. And so they got to really go into the depth. And who steps up but Zach Marshall. He was huge. And then Deacon Tonelli as well. I don't know if I look and if I circle the play of the game, I would say it was Deacon Tonelli. He catches a 28. He had a drop in the first half, but then he's coming over the middle, and this was after Bryce. It was a little bit sloppy. He had to take a timeout, and then he didn't throw it away. He was running over to the sideline, and everyone knows. When you're running over the sideline, you're out of the pocket, just throw the ball in. You're going to get the ball at the line of scrimmage where he loses 3 yards there. Those are little things, for a quarterback. But, you're looking at it and you're saying those are the kind of things that you need in the second half from Underwood. But then he just fires that ball to Tonelli, who makes the awesome catch, and then he's wide open. I don't know if it was the next play or the play after that. For the touchdown, and that kind of felt like it was sealed it. But when you're getting down to not just your second string, but that was third and fourth string tight ends, and they're featured and they come up big. Actually, you think about it, back up Jordan Marshall, back up Zach Marshall, back up Deacon Tonelli. They needed Frazier with Evan Link going down with the injury. He stepped up. I'm thinking about the different players. Trey Pierce. A lot of Marshalls on my mind with Jordan and Zach. But Trey Pierce played the first play, got the start, then he didn't see him, and then he comes in later in the game. I don't think he played after that first snap. Comes in, makes a huge play on a third down. Michigan ends up getting the stop on the fourth down with Derek Moore shot out of a cannon and coming up huge. For me, you understand that people were down last week because it was a horrendous performance. But I looked at the talent on the defense. I knew they could play a lot better. They're more than not bad. I mean, they're a good defense, but when you watch them and they just got to, whatever it is, get in, just like an offense needs to get in rhythm. You need a defense to get in rhythm too. You got to make some plays, and they did. From the linebacker position, the linebacking position who was supposed to lead them this year, and then, they had their worst game of the season a week ago, just like a lot of other people. So, that's what I'm thinking about. There were, I don't even say reports, I'm just looking online that said, Michigan players were pointing the fingers and they're disgruntled. I got news for you. Talk to Michigan fans last week. They were all disgruntled. They were all pointing fingers at everyone. So that's going to be a little bit natural. But when you listen to these players talk after the game, man, these guys were like, Michigan's the most connected team in the country. They're playing, it was Zach Marshall, most connected team in college football. I don't know if they heard that from whoever was coming up with there's finger pointing, or maybe there was some finger pointing, because they talked about there were some tough conversations that had to be had during the week. So, maybe there was a little bit of yelling back and forth or whatever you would say. And then, these guys needed to come together and put together the kind of performance they did today. And it didn't happen until the second half. So there you go. But big win, of course, for a lot of reasons. The biggest one is that if they lose this one, you thought last week was bad, it would be a complete meltdown roll. Sure, there's 5 games left, but it would have felt like the season was over, that you could put a fork in them in terms of the college football playoff. And now, that's why we love football so much. Such a lift, and you start looking at Michigan State and the games that they have. And it's not crazy talk to think about this team winning the next 4 games and setting up a chance to take down Ohio State here at Michigan Stadium, where they've done a pretty good job against the Buckeyes, and they're actually in Ohio State's head. I hope Ohio State wins all of their games that they have until the end, and they come in number one. I don't remember who specifically said it. This is the best team in college. This is one of the great teams I've ever seen. That kind of stuff. That's right where Michigan, I don't say right where they want them, but they'll take that. And, for this team, it was always going to be, they got a young offensive line, and they got a young quarterback, young offense. Look at Marsh. Marsh is getting a lot better. The tight ends are making plays. They've got a young back now, 1-2 punch maybe with Marshall. And whenever Justice Haynes gets back, I'm going to make a prediction. He'll be back for Michigan State. Seemed like he could have played today, so I would think he would be back for MSU. But maybe they don't need him, when it comes down to the way Jordan Marshall played. So, yeah, people were making fun of Michigan and Sharon Moore about, hey, go to work, or they're putting on their hard hat. Well, it works. And when it works, then you're like, hey, nice motivational work by Sharon Moore. Jordan Marshall, after the game, he was wearing his blue-collar jacket, and they were talking about the coach challenging him. So that's it for me from Ann Arbor. I'll talk with you on Monday. Michigan gets the win, and things are looking up. It's supposed to rain here after the game, and the sun's shining down. I shot this video from up in the concourse, or not on field level, because I was concerned about the weather, but the sun's been shining the whole time. So it's great. Great weather, great Michigan win. Things are looking up. I was going to say, as much as they were looking down, they're looking up. I don't know. Is that true? It's partially true. Things are really, they're week by week, things are definitely looking up for Michigan. It's just stacking those wins. Of course, they got to beat Michigan State, but they got these games that they have ahead. They're very winnable. And so there you go. The season extends, it turns around, just like people's frowns. I'm feeling pretty good about Michigan's chances moving forward. I'll talk with you on Monday at 2 o'clock on this very channel that you're watching here, the Maize and Blue Review. It's great to have everybody tuning in. And I will tell you that the fun continues over on the Maize and Blue Review on the Den. You're a football fan, you like the conversation, you like talking about Michigan, you want to know what's going on with Michigan, that's where I tell you to sign up with the Maize and Blue Review by going to on3.com, and it's an easy tap to subscribe and you get instant access. The bottles are shaking here at the big house. That's going to do it. 24-7. Michigan wins it, and they're off to East Lansing next week.